what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Welcome to Geeking Poetic Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Larry Roberts. Across the way from me is none other than
Vito.
And then the little fiddle in the middle. You know, the one that's always playing our tune. You know, she's just the one that keeps it together. We call her the prime director of all of it. Is none other than
Megan.
And yeah, it's cool to be back just doing a regular old Geeking Poetic Podcast episode. We don't do these that much anymore.
Nope, it's been a while.
No.
Yeah.
Feels like it anyway.
Yeah, we have all sorts of other things we do, as you know, but we like to get together and just have our roundtable discussion thing of a certain topic. Gosh, we've done a bunch of different topics so far this year, but this one, what exactly inspired us to do water?
I think Vito inspired us to do water, actually.
Vito likes a lot of water movies.
I do, yeah.
Well, I think we had water on the brain, you know, no pun intended. I think we had it on our minds because of summer and all that kind of stuff. And because, unfortunately, things being what they've been in 2020, there really hasn't been a lot of opportunity to go out and experience the water.
Or anything.
Or anything at all, you know. So, yeah, I think just started thinking about beaches and oceans and lakes and boats and all this stuff. And it's like, hey, you know what we should talk about? Let's talk about movies where like mostly like bad shit happens revolving
Seriously.
around all that. Almost
That
every...
way we're thankful we can't go out on the water.
Yeah. So what we decided was the theme for this month, for this topic, was going to be water-themed movies. So it means like, I mean, it's kind of broad, and I think we ended up having to, at least for some of us, we put some restrictions on ourselves because, man, that could encapsulate so many things that we decided, okay, well, we're going to narrow it down, at least for us individually. Like, Vito, I know, what did you end up, like, setting yourself to for this?
I cannot use submarine movies or shark movies.
Oh,
because
really?
it would literally be impossible for me to make this list. Because they would either all be submarine movies or they would all be shark movies.
Okay.
And I think those are in their separate category. So
so this is just kind of more like...
So I'm stuck with underwater disaster films.
There you go. I mean, Meg, do you have any kind of like theme for yours? Really?
I did the opposite, actually. I have, I think, all shark and boat movies, actually. Well, minus an honorable mention.
Yeah.
It had to mostly take place in the water. I think all of mine are mostly all in the water.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like water had to be a main factor. Like, it has to be that most of the movie takes place on the water or under the water, or it's something, you know, or water is sort of like the main character or the nemesis or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I did limit myself to is that I did not include any kind of like Disney or children's movies.
Yeah, I did that too.
You did include it or didn't?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. See, you're a little bit more all-inclusive, I think.
I am, yeah. I'm not huge on water movies, so I was able to do that better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, it was like when I was sitting down trying to figure out my list, I was like, well, but then there's all these like, there's a lot of like good like animated movies and kids kind of related movies and old movies from the 50s and 60s that were more kind of geared towards family kids kind of stuff. That could be its own list on its own, you know what I mean? Like that was there. I could have done that easily, just that sort of stuff, because I love Disney. I love all that.
So that movie where Don Knotts turns into a fish is not in your list.
No, no, that one is not on my list. That's a funny movie though. So I kept all mine more like serious kind of, I guess, sort of like drama. Yeah, I think everything in mine is all like drama.
Yeah.
Basically. I kept it more adult, believe it or not, for once, you know. So that's where we're at with this, folks. And I mean, we asked a bunch of you on our forum we have, the group we have on Facebook, the Geeking Squad group. We asked a bunch of you guys and gals what you thought of this topic and what movies you suggested. And I don't want to list them because a lot of the ones that they mentioned, I know are going to be
in our list.
Our lists.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good suggestions, and it was kind of cool because it sort of reinforced, for me, some of them I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm glad to see some people are mentioning some of the ones, And I know that there's going to be ones that we're going to mention that people are going to roll their eyes at. We may be rolling our eyes at each other.
I'm sure we will.
And everything. But, the way we're going to do it, do we want to do this is a top 5. I don't know if I mentioned that we just picked 5. And then we'll do some honorable mentions at the end because it's impossible not to.
Yeah.
But do we want to do the normal format where we go around and list all our 5 and then 4? We'll go through and just talk about them. Talk about 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s. And then if somebody mentions one that, if Vito mentions his number 3 is the same as my number 1, we'll just talk about it then and there, and we can always bring it up a little bit more later if we want to.
I'm down for that.
Okay.
Yeah, you down with that?
I'm down.
Down, deep down, under the water.
Down, down, down.
Down, down, down. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right, but yeah, you guys ready to jump right into it?
Let's do it.
I don't think we need to waste any more freaking time. We'll just get into it. Vito, I'm real curious because I have no idea what your list is.
We haven't seen your list.
Yeah.
So what's your number 5, dude?
It's a movie called Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart, that came out this year.
Yeah, you've raved about that one.
Yeah. I thought it was really, really good, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Megan, your number 5?
I am going with the 2016 film called The Shallows with Blake Lively.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that see, I've never seen that. All right, I'll be curious to hear about this.
That was a good one.
Okay. All right, I am going with something very different than those. My number 5 movie is a film from 2000, I believe it is, called The Perfect Storm.
Okay.
Oh, see, already, Megan's she's already huffing and sighing at me. So
Get a cough drop so I don't start yelling.
yeah, all right. Well, you'll get your chance. But Vito, tell us a little bit about why you chose Underwater.
So Underwater, we actually saw this trailer when we went to go see. I forgot what movie it was.
I remember it though.
Yeah.
But I was like, holy shit, I have to see this movie. It looked like it was like an alien creature underneath the sea with like a drilling facility that gets destroyed, and literally when a drilling facility gets destroyed by an alien creature or some kind of creature,
You're
dude,
in.
I'm in. You can't get me out of it. I'm totally in.
That's true.
And this movie delivered on that promise, like
Did it?
hook, line,
Okay.
and sinker, literally. So basically, there's a drilling platform and there's an earthquake under the water,
Right.
and it releases this creature. I won't tell you what the creature is because I don't want
Right.
to spoil anything.
No,
but
no.
it's-
Let's try to keep it as spoilerless
And
as
this is a new
possible.
movie. It just literally came out this past January in 2020. The gore effects are done really well. Not over the top like a Saw movie, but they're just they're what you would expect in a disaster under the water. There's a lot of implosions, which are I have a fascination with implosion effects and people getting killed by implosions. The creature effects are done really well. There is a lot of CG work, unfortunately, but I don't think it was that bad.
Okay.
Kristen Stewart actually is amazing in this role.
Well, we talked about that the other day about how Kristen Stewart can be sort of polarizing, you know.
And I don't
because-
really know her stuff other than she's the Twilight girl, and I never saw
Right.
the Twilight film, so I'm not sure what to take about that. But I thought she did really, really well, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't hate her. There's some things I feel she's done better than others. But it didn't dissuade me from wanting to see it. I didn't have time. I really wanted to see that before we did this.
Yeah, me too.
But, now it just further makes me want to see it again. Or want me again to.
It helps if you
See
watch it twice.
You know what I meant.
It helps if you
unscrabble that.
Yeah. It helps if you watch it twice. So if you have seen it, go back and watch it again because there's stuff that they like allude to that when you go back, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
I like
Oh,
movies like
yeah,
that.
it's-
Some people get uptight about that, but I like those kind of movies. I like it when you have to keep kind of delving into it. As long as there was enough on the first viewing to hook me
Yeah.
into seeing it again.
Yeah, so
Cool.
highly recommend. And I don't want to give any more away because it's a new movie. I'm
No.
sure a lot of people haven't seen it yet. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of movies on our list here that a lot of people haven't seen. So try to keep it as we'll try not to ruin it for you folks as much as possible. So all right, cool. Well, let's move on, Meg.
All right, I went with The Shallows.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this one.
Yeah, it stars Blake Lively. I thought when this came out that it was based on the true story of the lady that had her arm taken off by the shark.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? But it's not. So I was misled, I guess. I don't even know where I got that from. I'm just making it up. I just assume she's a blonde girl. Who the hell knows what I was thinking? but I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, well, even a lot of my films and stuff, I was like, how is this going to be interesting? Because I'm just looking at one person in the water for 2 hours. I don't know. I was really sucked in. I really enjoyed it. There's a little seagull that she talks to the entire time that's stranded with her. Because they're real close to the shore. That's why it's called The Shallows.
Okay.
And the shark's coming in. So, but again, I don't want to give out too much information. But at the end, Vito, we'll see what your input is on this. The shark scenes at the end. I was hooked, line and sinker until that scene. I was like, oh.
No pun intended. Hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
Wah, wah.
I get that a lot.
Ugh, we're gonna be so obnoxious with that.
Yeah, and until that scene, it's just the CG.
Yeah, from what I remember, I've only saw it once.
Bad.
Yeah, some of the CG is a little bit bad, but I thought the movie itself was pretty interesting and well done. You know, other than that.
Yeah,
stuff,
I was really enjoying it until that point. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, really? You had to go ruin the whole movie just with that. But it obviously didn't ruin it too much for me because it made it in my top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, was it as good of a CG as like Sharkenstein?
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, that's exactly what went through my head. It was like,
Oh,
oh God,
no.
here we go, another Sharkenstein.
Oof.
Yeah, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a shame when that happens, but if the rest of the movie is
The rest of the movie is worth the save.
I mean, you can't
redeeming.
fault the Langoliers just because the ending bad with this bad CG. I mean, the rest
lot
of
of
the movie
people
was
do.
great. I know, but you can't. Is what I'm saying. And in
You're
this
not
case,
supposed to.
yeah, it didn't ruin Megan's experience either. She enjoyed it enough to put it on her top 5.
Oh, that's
so.
good.
Right.
Bad
All right.
CG is not always as bad as you think it should be. You know? That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
well, considering who's talking right now, is that because your tolerance threshold for bad CG and bad effects and just bad movies in general tends to be a little bit of a higher threshold than a lot of the average person.
That's
you know?
true. Yeah.
But that's part of your enjoyment of it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there that love those kind of movies because they find them like more entertaining. I get it. I think there's room for both. But okay, yeah, that's interesting. So it's kind of a solo, like there's not a lot of cast in it.
There are briefly
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
other people,
Yeah.
but for the majority of it, she's on her own.
Okay,
She might see
okay.
somebody on the beach and she's trying to call them, but
Okay.
she's just too far out for them to be able to notice her.
So it's kind of like another movie of the genre, kind of a Castaway sort of thing then,
Kind of,
where
yeah.
there are other people, but it largely focuses on
Just
him.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, my number 5, like I said, was 2000's The Perfect Storm. This movie is loosely based on a true story. It has to do with a fishing boat called the Andrea Gale that was fishing off of the coast in Massachusetts and stuff, and according to the movie, out of desperation for wanting to make up for lost monies from a bad season, they decide against their better judgment to go out and try and do one last fishing. I think they were sword fishermen.
Mhm.
I think that's
I think
what
so.
to go out and do one last catch and wind up getting sucked into a really bad tropical storm, which they end up in the movie calling the perfect storm, being that it's like,
It's like 3 storms put together. Or
yeah,
some shit
it's like really bad, like a Category 5 hurricane and all this other shit. It's really bad. I thought here's the thing. It's one of those movies that I thought it was really gut-wrenching. There was a shitload of tension. I thought it had really cool character development. I liked the cast because I like George Clooney.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mark Wahlberg. I'm big fans of them. Diane Lane is cool. John C. Reilly's in it.
yeah.
You know, I mean, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, who's going to come up again in this list. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of repeats in here, actually. But it's a really sad movie. This isn't like one of those like Friday night, let's go out on a date and see this, and then we're gonna go get some brews afterwards. Because again, for those who haven't seen this movie, it doesn't end on a happy note. Like,
No.
you know, some of these
Not even
other
close.
some of these other movies we're going to talk about, like there's a lot of disaster that happens, but at the end there's something of a relief, and it's like, oh, you know, but our main characters managed to get through it, battered and bruised, but they persevered. No, not in this movie. No.
And
No.
that's my problem with it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you were sighing at me when I listed it. So what's
I think that was my first movie I've ever seen with an ending like that.
okay?
And I was so incredibly pissed off. I was like, are you kidding me? I wait this whole movie for a happy ending. I'm not going to fucking get it. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, there is
Yeah,
no
I
happy
was
ending
not
in this
happy.
movie.
And I still hold a grudge.
I've never seen it. I just remember when it first came out, the trailers where the ship was going like at a vertical 90
Yeah.
degree angle. I was like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Well,
I believe it.
The funny thing is it's actually not all that far fetched. Ironically, with all the things that you like, and you're like, oh, I could deal with that. It's a 3-headed shark with like laser beam eyes or something. Like, you know, whatever.
You never know.
It can happen.
Could happen. But then it's like that boat that's just surfing up surfing up that giant wave. Come on.
Give me a break.
A bunch of horse shit. It's like, no, I mean, I thought the effects in the movie were really good. It's just one of those. It's one of those kind of things. I mean, if you've ever watched, anybody out there that's ever watched things like Deadliest Catch or any of those, and you know when you're watching when they're dealing with bad weather, and you're just kind of like getting uptight, you're getting tense because you're like, ugh, you know, you get sucked into it. This movie has moments of that.
Yeah, it's very tense. It was a very good movie. I'll have to admit that. It's just
Yeah, it's a
I hold
really
a grudge.
it's a really good movie. It's just interesting because we're literally like the villain in the movie is weather, is the water. You know what I mean? And you know, it's not so much that it's not that there's some like giant pink whale out there that's trying to kill them or some Sharkenstein or anything like that. It's like I said, it is based on a true story, although there was a bunch of like lawsuits and stuff because they used real names and stuff, and families came forward and were like, A, you didn't ask us if you could use these names. B, like that isn't really how it went down. I mean, of course they Hollywoodized it,
Right.
you know, it's like they made it way more dramatic. And plus the thing is because of the way it ends, they don't actually know a lot of the details of what happened because there weren't, you know, survivors of a lot of this, you know. So they had to create drama and story there and everything. But again, that being said, I think it's a great movie. And I knew that had to be on my list and ended up being lower down on the list, you know, towards the bottom than I had expected. And I kind of debated a lot over the placement of movies on here and stuff. So, but I'm glad it's in there at number 5 at least.
Yeah, it's a solid number 5. I'll
Cool.
give you that.
Okay. All right. We'll see how you feel about number 4.
Uh-huh.
Moving on to number 4, Vito.
A little movie called The Abyss, directed by James Cameron.
Nice. That's my number 3.
No?
Okay, Megan.
It was also mentioned in our group, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That
Several
was
times?
that. Yeah, that was. So was The Perfect Storm. Somebody
Was
mentioned
it?
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to something totally different, and I went with a comedy called Down Periscope
Okay.
with Kelsey Grammer, Lauren Holly, Rob Snyder, a whole list of people.
I've never seen it.
Silly,
Yeah, I've never seen it
goofy movie.
I know the people I know that have seen it when a couple people I mentioned to them that we were going to do this topic, and one of the first things they mentioned was down Periscope. I'm
Was
like,
it?
I've never seen it. I'm like, okay, so well, that's cool. No, that's good. I'm glad you've got something like that in here because everything we're going to talk about is going to be grim
Yeah, not me.
for the most part. Yeah, shiny, happy Megan. We need that sunshine in here for the two dark moons over here. That is me and Vito. Okay, so my number 4 is a little. You might have heard of this movie that came out in 1997, produced by James Cameron, known as Titanic. So, you know, every fucking thing I mention, she's gonna be moaning at. So I had to go in. I'll explain why when I get to it. But meanwhile, all right, Vito, you want to talk about number 4?
The Abyss.
Yeah.
Aliens. Underwater drilling platform. The end.
This all sounds very familiar.
Yeah. First of all, this cast is just spectacular. Man.
Yes, it is.
Spectacular.
Ed Harris,
Dude.
Mary
Oh.
Elizabeth Mastrantonio
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Michael Biehn.
Yep.
There's a scene where Liz, where she drowns and he has to bring her back to the ship and he's like doing CPR on her. That scene's fucking powerful, dude.
Yes, it is.
He's like slapping a shit. Fucking wake up, bitch. Dude, it's like really rough. Man.
No, I mean he's really like that.
Yeah.
It's not just Vito embellishing.
No, he's like, wake up, goddammit. Because this is like his ex-wife and like he just watched her die in front of him and now he's got to bring her back and pretty powerful stuff. And then there's a scene where I'm sure a lot of people have seen this. This isn't going to give it away, but there's a scene where they use this liquid oxygen suit so he can breathe at about 10,000 feet down or whatever it was. And like he's hallucinating, he's going down and down and down, and he reaches the aliens. There's like a nuclear bomb that the Navy SEALs have like sent off because Michael Biehn lost his shit.
Yeah.
And the aliens find it, and it's great, man. The only thing I do not like is the special edition.
I was gonna ask about that. You don't like how they added the different stuff, made it more about. They kind of made it. They emphasized even more about the Soviets and the U.S. and all that stuff, and the aliens kind of trying to basically scare us straight, sort of thing. And
yeah, when I watched, I was like, "This is not doing it for me." I prefer the theatrical cut. But
I think they're both cool. I think it's interesting. It's interesting to see all that. I was like, oh, okay, that definitely takes it in a little different direction.
Yeah.
Made it a little bit more. I mean, the original is political too, but I think the original just focused more on that, deep, ocean,
Cold War,
like
yeah.
it was cool, man. Yeah, that scene with the liquid that liquid oxygen and the whole concept behind it is that because you've never seen it, right?
I don't think I've ever seen it. No.
The whole concept behind it is that you can breathe underwater for a longer period of time and be able to deal with deeper depths and pressure and stuff because you're breathing in, you're basically not breathing in air, you're breathing in this liquid. And the concept is like, well, when you're in the womb, that's what you do.
Okay.
You're not breathing open air. You're breathing like this liquid. And it's like you have to train your body. Like your body never completely forgets. You just have to retrain your body to accept it and stuff. And it's fucking weird because at first it's like you're drowning.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
you start to freak out and everything, but then it happens and then you're like able to just breathe with. Yeah. And I have such a thing about like drowning and everything. Like I can't even open my eyes in water. Like I couldn't, like I'm not somebody who can like open my eyes when I'm always like this. I'm super sensitive to, my eyes are just so sensitive. So yeah, the idea of doing something like that is terrifying, but like super like intriguing too, There's some really interesting science. I mean, the movie did very well. It doubled its expense, so it was like a 45 million budget and it did almost 100 mil. So it did really well. It won, rightfully so, for 1990. It won the best special effects or visual effects Oscar Because the special effects in that movie are fucking amazing.
Yeah, the liquid monster is basically the T-1000 in Terminator 2. They use that technology to build onto the Terminator franchise. And
right. If you watch it now, you're going to go, oh, well, I've seen this a million times. But back in 89, it was like, whoa, this is some serious fucking effects here. Okay. And I had it, I don't know if you probably did too, I had it on Laserdisc.
No, I just had the VHS and then DVD. But,
oh, yeah. And on Laserdisc, which at the time was like the best picture quality you could get and everything. Oh man, it was so cool.
I bet. Yeah.
And the sound, everything about that movie. Yeah. That's why it's my number 3. Only made I'm interested to see what your top 3 are going to be. So that's my top 3. I'm like, this has got to be top 3. It's just an absolute classic. You got to see it. All right. So moving on to number 4. Your number 4.
My number 4 again is Down Periscope from 1996. And it's just a silly, goofy movie. It is not PC at all. And that's why I like it. But it has Kelsey Grammer. He is in obviously the Navy, the military, and they're trying to decide, do we give him a boat, make him a captain of his own boat finally? And people are like, ugh, he's such a screw up. We don't want to do that. And they're like, okay, we're going to do this. And so they give him a boat. But it's this big rust bucket of a boat.
Right.
Terrible.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he's like, wait, no, I don't want this. This is crap. I want a nuclear submarine. I'm supposed to have a nuclear submarine. And like, well, you get this. Are you refusing this? And he's like, because, you could just have a desktop. He's like, no, not doing that. But
right.
So anyway, they said, well, you're going to have to do these war games against nuclear submarines. You got to sneak past them with this big rust bucket and these half-assed crew that they got going on. And the biggest screw-ups they could possibly find, they give them as a crew.
No, of course.
And then they give them a woman officer as well. And, women are not supposed to be on submarines. It's bad luck.
Right.
So, but then they give her that as well, as because she's like a testing program or something to let women in the Navy.
Okay.
And, of course, the guys all have to fuck with her because she's hot.
Yeah.
And she's the only woman on the boat, so.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it's real fun, silly movie.
Yeah, my friends talk about it all the time. I just have not seen it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw parts of it, at least parts of it back then, probably rented it, Blockbuster kind of thing and stuff. I just don't remember too much about it,
Yeah, I remember seeing it a long time ago, and it's stuck with me.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to be on my number 4. So I had to go rewatch it again. I was like, yep, it's still number 4.
Good. It still held up.
Yeah,
that's important.
I was like, ooh, this is, can't believe they got away with this, but it's okay. It's my kind of humor, so.
Yeah. Watch them now before they all of a sudden the
Cancel police show up.
The cancel
seriously.
police. Yeah, exactly. Start going, okay, you can't show that anymore. So. Okay, yeah, I'll have to hurry up and watch it at some point. I think it was just showing on one of the channels recently. It was on like Pluto or Tubi or one of those. I saw it, but it was already like 2/3 of the way through it, and I was like, I'll catch it another time. I need to watch it from the beginning.
Yeah, well worth it, I think.
Okay, well, as I said, my number 4. Can you tell that Meg's a big fan of Titanic? She does not like Titanic. And she's trying to shoot herself in the head with a squirt gun.
Give me your water, Vito.
I don't really understand why people hate this movie so much. I think people hate it because it was just so
long.
Well, and it was so popular. I think it's one of those things where because it got so big and it was so everywhere.
Yeah.
And that damn Celine Dion song. Like I don't hate Celine Dion, but oh my God. That song was like, anytime you get those songs like that they overplay, like The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Great movie. I don't know if you've ever seen
it's a
it.
good movie.
It's a really good movie and stuff. Really interesting. But if I have to hear I Will Always Love You again, it's like, oh my God. Like just, and not even that's a bad song, but again, overplayed.
That Frozen song.
They'd Let It Go. I've never seen Frozen, and I probably never will. And part of it is because of that fucking song. If I hear one more middle-aged woman's cackling out, let it go, it's like, yes, fucking let it go already. Like, it's not that great. But anyway, so I know there was elements of it that at the time that it got on people's nerves, just like your Twilights and your Harry Potters and everything else when things get so big. But this is a good movie. Now, I'm not saying it's a flawless movie because there's flawed things in here. They botched a few things in here. But I mean, James Cameron, if you want that just big epic kind of movie with amazing effects and stuff like that, you can't go wrong with fucking James Cameron. He did a great job. I love Leo. I love Kate Winslet. It's a really good cast, and I should explain that the thing is this movie would make my list anyway. I kind of hemmed and hawed about it because I was like, well, yeah, there's other more, cooler movies or whatever I could put on this list.
Like Titanic 2?
No. Not at all. Not at all like Titanic 2. That's on a whole...
No, Vito, no.
It's a bad veto. That goes on its own list.
It's your number 3, isn't it?
Oh.
No. I know someone that was in that movie, though.
Oh, wow. Okay. I've actually never seen it, but, just the concept.
The concept alone is
Titanic
ridiculous.
2 is great. But when I was growing up, I was infatuated with the story of the Titanic. Again, getting back to something we talked about recently on our squad podcast and everything. One of the things that was really big back in like the late 70s and the early 80s was the mystery of the Titanic. I went to a movie theater and I saw a very infamous documentary that came out at the theater called Raise the Titanic. And I forget who the narrator was of that. It might have been like Orson Welles or some shit like that. I forget, but I might be getting them confused. But the point is, I was really infatuated with it. And I may have mentioned this on the show in the past, but another book that explains why I'm such a miserable person. When I was growing up, I was really infatuated with this book. It was like a reference book kind of thing called Darkest Hours. And it's literally a big, thick book that just details every major disaster in human recorded history.
I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to get that book.
I'll lend it to you. I actually found it recently. I didn't know if I still had it, and I found it, so I can loan it to you. I mean, it's outdated now because I think it came out in like the late 70s or something like that. But even so, like just, when I was like 7, 8 years old, I was reading about like, the bubonic plague and stuff like that, and just really interested in it and the Hindenburg and all that. But the one that I was really, really fascinated with was the sinking of the Titanic. And just like the artist's illustrations and stuff in this book of it, it was like the scope of it, and it was like chilling, no pun intended again. But it was really, it was terrifying. So I'd seen various movies over the years that had to do with the Titanic, but again, say what you want about it. And I know now maybe some of the special effects are a little outdated or whatever. I don't care. To me, watching that for the first time in the theater and just the scope of it, hearing the metal creaking as because you know what's going to come.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about this movie. And and to me, the best part is what's coming. Mm-hmm. That's what's so gut-wrenching about this whole thing is like you're watching this movie and there's all these characters and some of them you hate. You're meant to hate, and some of them you feel for, and there's kids, they focus even on, there's like these little kids and stuff down in steerage and stuff, in the lower class decks of the boat and everything. And they're so cute, and you're thinking, and all this, and you get to like these people, and you're just like, oh man,
they ain't breaking down that gate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when they're trapped and it's cool that I know the movie's long, but the way that it goes, almost like real time. It's like almost like real time. Almost the amount of time from this point to this point. And you're just like, oh, it reminds me when they're trying to get through all those hallways and they get all the way here. Oh, there's a fucking gate they can't get through. Now they got to go back. And you're like, oh, Jesus, like this, it's exhausting. It reminds me of like a dream. You ever have those dreams where you're lost in a maze or something and you're like frustrated because you can't. I just think that on all those notes, this movie is amazing. Yeah, we all know that Rose should have let him up on the fucking door because they could have both fit on the door. They would have just tried a little harder. Or maybe they could have even taken turns, like get out, just so that one of us isn't like freezing to death in the water. Could have done. I know, but it's a movie. There's got to be drama. There's got to be an explanation for it. I already said in the past how much it pisses me off what the old lady does with the fucking necklace at the end. Oh, old Rose. Oh, I'm just going to throw it back into the ocean. Fuck you. That wasn't yours to fucking do with in the first place. Wasn't even your necklace. Didn't even technically belong to you. And now, all these dudes on this Bill Paxton, all them is like spent like millions of dollars, and he's not a jerk, he's chooses to be kind of a decent guy. And now you've just totally wasted all their time and money because you're going to go, oop, I threw it overboard. Now I'm going to go die in my sleep. So I'm with you on that. The end of the movie, I could do without. But the rest of it, just to see that whole thing, dude, everything. The band on the deck of the heart-wrenching. It's all just so heart-wrenching. It's a good-ass movie overall. So it's kind of like your number 5 was, the Shallows, where it's like
right up to the end.
Right up to the end where I take, issue with it and stuff. But what's your problem with it?
I think, like you were saying earlier, it just got so hyped up that I expected more. I don't know. I expected more from it. I don't know what I expected more from.
I don't know how much more they could have done with it.
But I was underwhelmed. Is all I could say. And
now, did you see it?
Whatever.
Did you see it when it was new?
I saw it. I think I saw it in the theater.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I saw it in the
I was like,
theater.
okay, well, I'm gonna go see this. It must be really fucking good. And I was like,
It's funny because I would have thought it would be the kind of movie you would like.
you would think.
Because you like Leo.
I love Leo.
Yeah, right. So you would think,
Yeah.
But see, it makes me wonder. I really, knowing how you are, if he lived at the end of the movie and they had a happily ever after,
maybe
a happily ever after, and with him and Rose and all that stuff and everything, would you feel differently about it? Because I have a feeling.
You're probably onto something there, maybe. Yeah, again, that probably just ticked me off. I was like, you know what? Fuck this movie. I hate it.
Because that's how you are.
It's true. Totally true.
Yeah.
I can't deny.
So
there's a funny Neil deGrasse Tyson story that he told on Rogan's podcast where he met James Cameron.
Yeah.
And he said, I noticed when they look up in the sky that the star pattern is not correct for that year and location. And Cameron's like, oh, really? Man, you know what? I'm glad you told me. I want to fix that when I redo the special edition. And he did the special edition, and Neil saw him again. He's like, you know what? I noticed you didn't get a chance to fix it. He goes, yeah, I guess I missed it. But you know what? The movie made like $1 billion. Do you think it would be a better movie if I had fixed the star pattern that time?
Right.
He's kind of sort of a jerk about it. And Neil's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, it's true. But I guess the point is that it was brought up to you. Yeah, I mean, how hard would it have been to change the fucking star pattern, really? I mean, you're going to make a special edition, do that shit. Fucking Spielberg would have done it.
Right.
Spielberg would have been like, I'm fucking Spielberg. I'm going to get that shit right.
George Lucas would add an extra creature.
Well, George Lucas would have just been like, I'm going to put 2 moons in the sky. And I'm going to have it run by children. And totally, don't even get me started. But I mean, yeah, on that note, I mean, $200 million budget. So it was a big, but especially, I mean, even now that's a big budget.
I think it was the most expensive movie
for a long time. Yeah.
And I think it was the highest grossing of all time.
Well,
right?
$200 million budget. You go, oh shit, that's a nail biter for the movie studio and everything. Yeah. $2.195 billion earned.
That's insane.
So they did all right. I think they don't have to worry about the star constellation up there and stuff. But yeah.
What, 11 times its fucking budget they made back?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Dude, Cameron, he knows how to make a goddamn movie, man.
Yeah.
Well, someday we're gonna do.
We'll have to do
We're gonna do a Cameron thing. Yeah, because I still want to get more into the directors, and we're gonna do roundtable top 5s on all those people.
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of fun. We are in the top 3 now. Moving on. So Vito, what is your number 3, man?
Well, this is a movie that also came out in 1989. which is called Deep Star 6.
Oh, okay. It's not what I was expecting. Okay. Deep Star 6. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. All right. Well, Megan, can you match that?
No. I went with 2016 film The Finest Hours.
Finest Hours. Okay.
Don't know that.
Yeah. All right. So number 3s are all except mine, which we already talked about, which was The Abyss. So cool. All right. Well, then the remains. So this will be. This is learning time now for Larry because I don't know these movies. So Vito, let's start with you, man.
So Deep Star 6 is a underwater military base that has a sled weapon system that has nuclear missiles on it that they're installing at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And because of Miguel Ferrer's stupidity, he ends up blowing up the fucking sector with a nuclear missile by accident because he inputs the wrong code into the computer, and the computer thinks there's a hostile invasion by Russians or something, and they explode the nuclear
No
bomb.
fail safe there.
No,
huh?
no.
Okay.
And it releases like this underwater, like sea scorpion mutated creature that's been living under this cave system for millennia. Now it's out and about, and it terrorizes the whole crew, obviously.
Okay.
And it gets into the facility, eats a guy, chops him in half, literally, which is great.
Great. Sounds great.
There's some gore that I saw this movie on like ABC at like 1 a.m. one night when I was like 7 years old or whatever.
Okay.
Dude, scarred me for life, I'm telling you. But now I like enjoy it in a good way. But at the time I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? Miguel Ferrer is kind of going psychotic because of the pressure. He ends up stabbing one of the guys with a shark dart through the back, and it explodes his heart because of the gas bubble. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen somebody explode like that. And then Miguel gets himself into an escape pod, and he doesn't depressurize. So as he's going up, he explodes in the fucking escape pod. Ridiculous.
Oh, boy. We knew we were going to have to get into this stuff. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is the origins of Vito's infatuation with this kind of shit.
And another infatuation is one of the guys gets trapped inside one of those circular doors, like the circular hatches.
Yeah.
It closes on him, and he breaks his back, and he basically, yeah.
That's an infatuation?
Yeah, I infatuated with those kind of deaths. Acid deaths, circular doors closing in on people and cutting them in half for some stupid
Does
reason.
that happen a lot?
In a couple movies, yeah.
Does it? Okay.
Wow.
So that's my pick for number 3.
Yeah, I think I'll probably pass on that one. I got to be honest with you. It sounds just a little bit too much on the grim side for me. I don't know about you, Meg. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the 80s, dude. I mean, what do you expect? It was.
Well, The Abyss came out in the 80s too, and that wasn't quite as,
Yeah, it's more of a feel-good movie, I guess.
When The Abyss is a feel-good movie in comparison. Yeah.
Wow.
That's about right. Yeah. All right. So what's the name of that one?
Deep Star 6.
Okay, so for all you people out there that are like, oh, that sounds like my kind of movie, and I know there's a bunch of you, you can look it up. Yeah. All right, Megan.
Yes.
Let's move on to yours.
Yeah, I'm definitely not following up that.
Yeah.
So my movie is a happier movie,
okay.
but it is based in 1952 with the United States Coast Guard, and it has Mr. Sexy, amazing Chris Pine.
How did I fucking know? Here we go.
In it, which is what made me check it out in the first place. Not gonna lie. I love them.
Okay.
It's got Casey Affleck, Ben Foster, and stuff in it.
Okay.
But what the gist is that they have to go out and rescue the ship that's caught in like one of those perfect storms.
Okay.
And it's split in two. And it's taken on water, and it's got a whole big crew on it and everything. And it's not a huge crew. I mean, maybe like 30 people or something on there on this freighter. And they go out. But the thing is, like the prior year is the same kind of situation. It's like February, so it's snowing, it's freezing waters, and these bad storms come in same time every year, I guess. But there's like a breaker water, like kind kind of like a shelf. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
They have to get over this, and it's really dangerous in this type of weather. And what happened was the prior year, Chris Pine was, taking a boat out there to do something, and somebody died on the boat. They capsized or whatever, and somebody passed away. So he's dealing with all that, and this is his first time going out over it because they always go around. But because this is such a dire situation, they don't have time to go around. So they're like, do we not? I don't know. Is it worth it? We're going out on a suicide mission just to rescue these people. We're never going to make it in time. It's not worth it. So, but they go and attempt this rescue mission, and it's really hair-raising at times. They have to take, he has to get a couple volunteers because obviously nobody's really wanting to go do this. So eventually he's getting enough people to go out and do this. And I think it's 3 guys go out, and they're constantly like, these waves are crashing on them. So half the time they're underwater in this boat, fully exposed to the elements.
Damn.
And there's nowhere to put all these people when they get there. But I'm not going to say what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a nail biter.
So it's an action, like suspenseful
Suspense,
action.
yeah.
Kinda. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a comedy or anything like that. It's really good. And it's based on a true story as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was very, very good. So it made my number 3.
Yeah.
Plus Chris Pine.
Plus
Yeah,
Chris
well,
Pine.
obviously.
Yeah. Mhm. Exactly.
So,
Well, now that one sounds like something I might actually check out.
yeah.
Unlike
That's
the
a good
other one. Where it just sounds like it'll give me
Death and destruction everywhere.
Just keep me awake even more than I already stay awake at night. Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've had a pretty diverse list so far.
Yeah.
Is it going to get even more diverse?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Awesome. Well, like I said, my number 3 was The Abyss. We already talked about that and everything. I think that is a good, solid number 3.
Absolutely.
So we can move on to number 2.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Okay, well, moving on to the number 2. We're already at number 2.
Yeah.
All right, Vito, what is your number 2?
This is my last of the 1989 block.
Oh, wow. 1989 was all
good
about
year,
it for you,
dude.
man. Yeah.
It's a movie called Leviathan.
Okay.
Starring my
Okay.
boy Peter Weller.
Yeah, okay.
I
Interesting.
think I've heard of it, but I don't think I know anything about it.
Oh, you would know
Wait.
it if you saw it, Megan.
Oh, okay. You're going to educate us?
Oh, I will.
Educate me anyway. Again, quite opposite of Vito. I am going with the lovely film from 2003 called Finding Nemo.
Yeah, that's about as different from Leviathan as you get. Yeah, well, we're all ping ponging all over the place here with our number 2. You got Leviathan, you got Finding Nemo. My number 2 is a movie from going all the way back to 1972,
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
and it's a really intense movie called The Poseidon Adventure. So,
Yeah, this is when it was on my list to check out and I didn't get to it.
I almost
Man.
rented both of them last night.
dude, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's because there's been like remakes and
there was, like, a
been
sequel, too,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So I'm specifically talking about the first one,
The Gene Hackman.
the 1972 one. But we'll get to that in a minute. Vito, let's talk about Leviathan.
Leviathan, underwater drilling platform, mixed with The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
So basically, there's an underwater drilling platform. They're drilling for, I believe, salt or aluminum. I
Yeah,
forget
something
what
like
it was.
that. Yeah.
And they find this Russian submarine that's been adrift for I don't know how many years, and they find like this flask of vodka that they take back to the boat. Well, Daniel Stern is in this movie, and he's absolutely hilarious. So he starts drinking the vodka and passes it to a couple other crew members. But what they don't realize is that the Russians were doing an experiment with this vodka, and it was like this genetic compound that's like changed people's DNAs to make them like this weird half human, half fish creature, so they could be able to like fight Americans and win the war and shit.
And if Russians are going to fuck with any kind of thing like that, of course, that's like, what else are they going to do? We put it in vodka. Of course.
To trick the crew into drinking it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden it starts spreading, and it's basically this creature that like eats people, takes on their genetic makeup, kind of like the Thing.
Right.
It's terrorizing this underground drilling platform, and they got to like destroy it. And Peter Weller is like in command, but he's not like a very good person in command, and the people don't like him, so he's got to deal with that. And it's an incredible film, dude. Stan Winston did the special effects, so you know they're top notch.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, it's a fucking intense movie.
Yeah, creature designs are just epic. All practical effects, no bullshit CGI, and it's really, really, really well done. Highly recommend it.
Now that one would be one that, I mean, it's grim, but it's not.
It's more fun than the previous film I mentioned.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of comedy stuff. Daniel Stern is just, dude.
It's Daniel Stern.
Yeah, that's what I need. If I'm going to watch something like that, I need some comedy relief.
Yeah.
And he literally went from that to Home Alone.
Yeah, Home Alone was a couple years after.
It was like right after.
Yeah, because Home Alone was
1990.
Yeah, so it was really his next.
So you go Leviathan, Home Alone. Now imagine if when he was in Home Alone, if they would have had some like unknown like crossover where at one point he's like going through all that shit, and when like right at the end when they think that they've got Macaulay Culkin trapped, if all of a sudden he fucking just went all crazy Leviathan fucking vodka monster on him and shit. And if the movie would have ended that way,
vodka monster,
that would have been fucking awesome.
What if there's a way we can like edit those two together to make that happen?
It's happened. Well, what was the one that I saw that they did where somebody re-edit Home Alone, but they put Sylvester Stallone into it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No,
I'll have to look that up later and stuff. People, if you know out there, let us know if anybody knows the link to that. Somebody went.
Go post it in our squad.
Yeah, go post it in a squad or put a link underneath this or something. But yeah, somebody went and took Home Alone, but then took Stallone. I think it was Stallone from another movie, and they like inserted him into all these, and it made it this like totally different kind of movie. So why not? We could put the fucking Daniel Stern vodka monster in fucking Home Alone. I'd probably like it better.
Yeah. I've seen where they do the trailers like Home Alone and they'll turn into a horror film, like a horror film trailer, because they just change the music and take select scenes to make it look like it's a scary movie. It's pretty funny.
But in any case, getting back to the point, no, that was a solid choice. Made it all the way up to number 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Very interesting what your number 1 is.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people would be like, you pick that as your number 1.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from vodka monsters and Home Alone, let's move on to a funny little cartoon fish movie.
Yeah, from Disney. Okay, so obviously Disney has lots of water movies.
Which is why I omitted that from mine. Yeah.
So I was good. I narrowed it down to 1, and I had to go with Finding Nemo because the movie's amazing. I love that movie. I will watch it over and over.
I've watched that movie a lot. It's probably, at least in the last, 20 years or whatever, it's probably the one I've watched the most out of all the recent Disney movies. I've probably watched Nemo the most. Yeah. And I liked Finding Dory too.
Yeah, that was cute too.
It was good. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but it was good.
It was amazing. Yeah, because I thought, The Little Mermaid, I really liked that and stuff. And I was like, my sister killed The Little Mermaid for me.
Oh, yeah, because I was to say, I thought you were a big Mermaid fan.
I do, but I had to end up hiding that fucking movie from her. Hi, Dawn, if you're seeing this. in the Bambi case, because we would watch Bambi. Because it was too sad.
Yeah, Bambi's a rough one, man.
Yeah. Couldn't do it. So I hid it there just so we didn't have to watch it every time she was over.
We should do Disney sometime.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Would you do Disney?
Yeah, I've seen
because it doesn't even have to be all the animated. Like it doesn't have to be Bambi and Snow White. It could be like anything Disney, as long as it's a proper Disney film.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be like their sci-fi stuff or any of those kind of things. Yeah,
Pirates,
that'd be interesting.
yeah.
Do you want to see us do Disney?
Too bad we're doing it anyway.
Yeah, we might do that. But
Yeah, so.
okay, fair enough. Yeah, burned out on it.
Moana was really good, but yeah, I just love the fuck out of this movie. It's so entertaining and funny.
It is
Dory's
funny.
amazing, and there's something he's like, "Don't touch the butt," and he touches the butt. It's my humor. I love it.
Yeah, that is definitely your humor. That movie really makes it for me. When he ends up getting when Nemo gets into the doctor's office,
The fish tank
and all the
scenes. I love
different
the
fish that are in the
tanks.
fish tank with that
It's
starfish.
like, bubbles, 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 bubbles. Yeah, I love
The
those
starfish
guys.
that's always stuck to the side of the
Get out of the way, Flo. Love it.
Yep, that is okay. No explanation needed. We all know why it's Megan's number 2 because that's
My humor.
That is
all over the
definitely-
place.
your humor. Well, it's good because, like I said, I don't think, without giving anything away about what our number ones are, I'm pretty sure that me and Vito don't have anything like that as our number 1.
Probably not.
You never know, but we'll see.
Huh.
All right, but don't touch the butt. My number 2 was 1972's disaster epic, The Poseidon Adventure. Now, this was one that I saw as a kid on late night television back in the old days, pre-cable and all that, when you'd watch movies on ABC at like 2 a.m. in the morning, you know. I watched it late one night when I was probably, I don't know, 9 or 10 or something like that. Old enough to be able to get it, you know. And I mainly watched it because it had Gene Hackman in it because that was Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's how I, related it and everything. This was not a Superman movie by any means. Man, what an incredible movie. So what it's about is, you don't know what this is about, right?
Mhm.
What this movie is about is a big ocean liner ship, cruise ship thing, is on its way to Greece. Is
I
it?
think that sounds about
I
right.
think it was on its way to Greece, and it's like they've got this new owner that's recently bought out this ocean liner and everything, and he's just typical greedy asshole, disregarding safety protocols and stuff, and wants to hurry up and get it here as quick as possible and as cheaply as possible. And there's people on board, taking this. It might be the last. I think, was it supposed to happen on like? No, and maybe, yeah, I think it happens on like New Year's Eve.
I think it does, yeah.
And it was supposed to be like its last voyage of the year before it shut down, whatever, something like that. But the point is because they are not obeying safety protocols and stuff, they end up capsizing and everything because they don't get enough, what do you call that? I can't think of what it gets overturned in a tsunami is basically what happens.
Okay.
And because they didn't have enough water in the bottom that helps keep it buoyant
Mhm.
and everything, because they weren't doing it right, it was more easily normally a cruise liner wouldn't have that happen hopefully under those kind of circumstances, but this thing capsizes and it turns upside down in the water. So then there's like a small group. Eventually it narrows down to a small group of survivors led by Hackman, who are all trying to make their way through the ship. Now, Vito and I have been on cruise ships now 4 times.
Something like
that.
yeah.
We've done cruise ships 4 times with the band and everything. So we know how big these boats are and how winding and everything. And then especially when you start thinking about steerage and all that and all the things, like,
Dude, we can't even make it to the venue when we have a fucking map that tells you.
I know exactly. That's exactly my point. We get lost when it's right side up and we have a map and it's like, wait, are we supposed to go this way? So these guys, they're on, they're operating on little to no power that's left. And there's certain rooms where it's almost completely full of water. Other ones it's filling up and everything. And they have to go through. It's like a fucking video game.
Yeah, really.
It really is. I mean, this was before video games, but it's like it would make, if they didn't, and maybe they already did, if they never made a video game for this, like they should. That's what it feels like to me, is because it's like now you're at this next room and it's like, there's like these ladders. This is like a room where it was like a boiler room thing, and there's all these metal staircases and ladders, but everything's upside down. And then, of course, because it was a boiler room, it means like all the water in there is like boiling hot and everything. And it's like you have to jump over this and go through the water, but you can't be in there very long because there's electricity and all, blah, blah, and get to this other so you can get through that portal over there.
Yeah,
and
sounds like a great game.
It is. And the thing about it is that the people that are trying to survive, it's not like this is like, Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth and blah, blah. These are like...
It's like Ernest Borgnine.
It's Ernest Borgnine. And red buttons, like these older, like they're one's like a haberdasher and the other one's like a retired police chief and like with his old wife, and one of them's like an ex-hooker or something like that. Seriously. And everything. Yeah. And so... it gets very sad. Some of it gets very sad. And they kind of borrowed from this movie for that one movie later with all the people that were trapped in the tunnel in New York with all the water.
Daylight?
Yeah, is it Daylight? They borrowed a little bit, I think, in that of the same concept. That's a real good movie. That deals with water too. I didn't even think about that because there's water that comes through. But that's a real good movie. But anyway, so it's an incredibly tense, sad, because there's stuff that happens. You're like, oh man, like it does have a happy-ish ending, so there is some relief at the end, but very tense. This was one of the first big disaster films. Disaster films became a big thing in the 1970s. You had Towering Inferno and Airport and all those kind of things. This was one of the first ones, but this movie was huge. This one ended up winning like 2 Academy Awards, wow. Golden Globes, all sorts of other awards. It, like I said, Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters, Red Buttons, like all these like big name. There was like 5 Academy Award winning actors in this one movie, but it was a disaster movie. So it was kind of unusual at the time because you didn't usually get like that kind of pedigree for this sort of film. It took this sort of film from being like the B film status of the 1960s and made it like mainstream affair, kind of thing. And it did really well in the theaters. So yeah, it's just, and it's another one where it's like the water is your enemy. It's not about sharks or monsters or aliens or anything like that. It's literally just you trying to get from one end of this fucking capsized ship, and it's the whole concept of how this thing, when it was right side out, was beautiful and wonderful, and it's supposed to be a thing of relaxation and peacefulness and fun and everything, and now it is literally your worst enemy, like it's trying to kill you. It's a really, really good movie. So, and there's been remakes and sequels and stuff.
Yeah, there's a Kurt Russell remake that came out in like 2008 or something.
Yeah, something like that, early 2000s. Yeah. I think it was. Yeah, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
There's any of those if you're interested in checking them out. But I suggest checking out this one.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah, it is really good. So we are at number 1.
Uno.
Yep, the Uno. Draw 4. No, we're not drawing 4. Actually, we're just drawing 3. We're going to have 3 here. So we're changing the rules of Uno.
Okay.
So, sorry. Should I just put a reverse card down? And okay, never mind. Anyway. Yes. All right, moving on. It's been great, folks. And on to our honorable mentions. Vito, I'm very curious. What is your number 1?
How about, can you guys just guess what you think would be? Would you have any kind of guess what I would put as a number 1?
Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
That's a good guess, actually.
Because
I'm
no one
surprised
knew.
it's not.
It's not.
Really?
It's Sphere from 1998.
Oh.
Based off the Michael Crichton book, Sphere.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's got like Samuel Jackson,
God, I wouldn't even have thought
Sharon
of that.
Stone.
Yeah. No,
Dustin
that's a film, man. Yeah, all right, cool. Sphere.
Wow, way to pull one out of nowhere. Surprise us. Sounds good though.
Well,
Good
I mean,
actors.
it's good because he said he wasn't going to bring up like submarine and ship kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
that's a
and
good
he wasn't
point.
going to do like shark movies. So,
Wow.
yeah, it really threw us for a loop there.
Yeah,
All right,
Seriously.
all right, Meg, you're number one.
You had to go with it. I had to put Jaws number one.
The
You think
first
of it-
Jaws.
Yeah, you think of a shark or water movie, you think of Jaws.
Yeah.
So had to be number one.
I would have said Waterworld, but
Jesus Christ. Skip.
she's just gonna be hitting that skip button on me a lot. Well, this will make it easy because my number one is 1975's Jaws.
Nice.
Had to be. I mean,
I
Yeah.
could have
just-
told you that.
Yeah, it had to be. I would have been interesting if I would have gone the route like Vito did, though,
Yeah.
and be like, no shark movies. It's like, oh shit, okay,
Yeah, I would have been screwed.
yeah, that would have been interesting. Although we'll get into our honorary mentions. But all right, Vito, let's talk about Sphere, man.
Yeah, so this movie, I knew from the start that I loved it before I even saw it because it's underwater. There's basically a military installation because they find a spaceship buried under the water, and it's been there for over 300 years. Now, the year takes place in like the 1990s. You're thinking, well, how can a spaceship be there? And there's like this mystery involved because it obviously has been there for a long time because coral has grown over the ship, so they can calculate how long it's been there. And so Dustin Hoffman plays like a psychiatrist who wrote a report to tell the military what to do in case of an alien invasion
Okay,
and
yeah,
first
yeah.
contact scenario. But what you find out is he made up this report off the top of his head to sell a book so he could pay for his house. So he's like, dude, I just put people that I knew in here. I didn't know they were actually going to use it. And Samuel L. Jackson like is onto him and stuff, and there's a really cool dynamic between them. And as you go through, they get into the ship, and the mystery unveils itself. And I don't want to spoil too much, but you find out right away that it's an American spaceship, and that's all I'll say.
Oh yeah,
But you find that out in the first like 5-10 minutes, so it's not a big spoiler. So you're like, how the fuck did an American spaceship crash land 300 years ago when there weren't even Americans 300 years ago?
timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh, that one sounds real interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The cast is spectacular. It's based off a Michael Crichton book, which the book is great as well. There's a few differences, but I highly recommend the movie. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really, really
Yeah,
good.
that's kind of the trick. Is I haven't seen that in years. Yeah, when did that come out?
1998.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was around 2000. Yeah, it's a really good movie. Yeah, okay, all right. Looking at the rest of your list, I could see why that would be number one. So, would you say that's like one of your favorite films?
Yes. So I literally can watch this movie every night and not get tired of it. I literally spent 2 weeks straight watching this every night, falling asleep to it, and I did not get tired of it at all.
Even though you fell asleep to it, so you technically did get tired from it.
No, it's just, when you're up at night and you're just kind of winding down, I'll always
Yeah.
put this movie
it's
on
just
to
like
watch.
With me and Star Trek, I'll put Star Trek on to fall asleep.
Yeah, well, Star Trek. I love Star Trek, but it has that effect. Old Star Trek especially.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've watched this, but I never get tired of it. And people rag on this movie like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I was just going to
Yeah.
say, I
Aw.
know it was kind of divisive. I thought it was a good movie. I haven't seen it since back then, so I'd have to watch that again. But I remember it being kind of interesting. I love stuff that has to do with that kind of like, how do you explain the timeline of
Right.
this? It's like, yeah, I like that shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Vito's number one is Sphere.
Nice.
Sphere. All right. Megan, you want to, me and you
Yeah,
talk
let's
about
tackle Jaws.
old Jabba Jaws? That's a whole other thing. There was a cartoon in the late 70s, fittingly, when they came out with Jaws. They had a kids cartoon that was like a comedy thing with a shark. So it was like Scooby-Doo, but instead of a dog, it was a shark. He was this big shark, and his name was Jabba Jaws. And he talked like Curly from the Three Stooges.
really?
He was like,
Awesome.
"Wop, wop, 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 wop."
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to watch this.
Me and my fin are out of here. It's like, yeah, it's great. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Jabberjaws. We're here to talk about the
God.
real Jaws. What do you got against Jabberjaws? All right. Well, anyway, so, I mean, there's so many reasons for this to be number one. I mean, first of all, pretty much the main debut of Spielberg on the scene, and what a fucking debut, you know?
Seriously. We didn't knock it out of the park your first try.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cast is incredible. You've got Richard Dreyfuss.
Love him.
Yeah, he's great. He's great in this in particular as Hooper. Roy Schneider as Brody, as Sheriff Brody. He's great. And then, of course, Robert Shaw as Quint.
Dude.
The incredibly drunk and surly Quint, which apparently Robert Shaw was drunk and surly during the making of that. Like when he tells that story, that whole scene when they're drinking, and he tells the story about the USS Indianapolis and stuff, that was like legit. Like there wasn't really much acting going on there. That was just him drunk and like telling this story. And I think that's what, for me, that scene, that whole thing with all three of them on the boat, that's when it really takes a turn, and I don't want to say it legitimizes the movie. I'm not going to say the movie wasn't legit before that, but up to that point, I feel like it feels a little bit like kind of like, oh, here's your scary, B-movie, drive-in B-movie thing. But when those three actors got together and then set out on the ship, and the drama, and they slow down and they start telling, and the stories and developing that character interaction, it's like, oh.
Yeah, you become very enveloped in that when they're doing that. You're like,
right.
like edge of your seat, bated breath, listening.
Because doesn't like the camera zoom in as he's kind of saying it?
The whole thing.
It draws you into like the story.
It draws you in, exactly.
Right, and that's what made it feel like, okay, this is not just another like disaster, scary kind of movie thing. Like there's some serious acting and movie making chops going on here. And it created something new, you know. Plus, then, of course, you've got John Williams' fucking score for it, which anybody, I mean, you could be a 5-year-old kid and you go dun, 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 and they know what that is. They're like, oh, it's like, man, like just so many things about this movie is so brutally iconic. I mean, when did you see this movie? Did you see it when as a kid, or did you see it when you were older?
I think I saw it when I was older. If I did, I don't remember it.
I saw it as a kid. Go figure, because even though my mom will swear, we never let you watch all those movies. You let me watch all the movies, Mom. You did. I remember very clearly, because I remember being like, and I was, well, not in 75. I was 2 years old. But later, when I was like probably 6 or 7 or something, I saw it. And I just remember, like, especially when, like, that arm, that severed arm floating, and then when they find the dead cadaver in the water and it startles them and everything, like, that really bothered me. Because it was like I never even knew, you know, to me, only thing I knew about sharks was fucking Jabberjaws. You know what I mean? At that point, like, I was just like, oh, yeah, cool, sharks. And it was just like, oh, they do that. Oh. And it really, people don't understand that it really did. It affected, it still does today, but I mean, it was so new. It affected like people going to the beach. I mean, it like super adversely affected people going to the beach. It's like they were pissed. Like town mayors
tourist
and
towns or
tourist towns and all that. They were pissed about this movie. They were like, you really fucked us up, because that's how much it got inside people's heads. Because this was the biggest movie, you know, and still today is one of the biggest movies of all time. So, I mean, for that alone, you know, you can watch the movie and some people can say, well, it's kind of dated, and sometimes you look at the shark and you might go, okay, that. But I think it looks cool, like to me. But again,
That's
older.
That's what kind of makes it cool now.
I'm older though, but I'm saying like some 18-year-old that might be watching or listening to this might watch it and be like, Jaws, really, man? Like, dude, that shit's ancient. And it's like, but again, much like the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix or so many, or the Wizard of Oz or something like that, you have to put it in its time and understand everything that came after it would not be the way it was if it was not for Jaws.
I don't know. I think that Jaws looks more realistic and better than some CGI shit.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree
like
with
the
you.
Shallows.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Shark
yeah,
Inside.
but
No, but yeah.
right, yeah.
There's a certain charm to just practical effects in movies.
Exactly.
You're more invested, I think, in the scene than you would be a CGI shark or
Right.
something, you know.
But I also think that people criticize it now, just like they do some other films, for its pacing. Because, nowadays people go, it's too slow.
Oh, it is a 70s
and it's too
film, it's
quiet
got
and
that.
it's slow. And it's like, but see, to me, those are the kind of things that made an impact on me. And that's why, like, a lot of the new movies don't make an impact on me, even if I could go, well, it was cool, it's entertaining. But I don't.
So much going on at one time.
Yeah, and I just don't. Even like when we went and saw Godzilla last year, I loved that movie. I enjoyed the shit out of King of the Monsters. But when you compare it to when I was watching the old movies when I was a kid and they were slower paced and there was more build up to when they finally had the monsters and everything in it, I don't know. There's something to be said for that kind of silence and pacing and subtleties and everything.
Yeah, it fucks with your head.
Movies nowadays wouldn't have the scenes, the long drawn out scenes of the three of them drinking in the under cabin of the boat and singing "Show me the way to go home." And
that scene is so pivotal because you find like Quint starts to respect Hooper at that point, because before it's like, you're just some college kid, you got fucking city hands, you're counting money your whole life.
But yeah, in those old movies, they don't really. They don't speed through stuff the way they do now, and now you wouldn't get those kind of pivotal scenes of all of them starting to respect each other, like you said, starting to feel things out, and the audience kind of caring about those characters, so that when they do, then the next day when they're out dealing with the damn shark and stuff that happens and everything, you're like, oh, like
You're more invested in them,
and you don't want to see them fail, and you want to see them help each other, and then you feel their agony now. This is a really well-made movie. I mean, I know a lot of people still generally think of Jaws as being sort of a water monster disaster type flick, but there's more to it than that. And so that's why I was like, I got to make this. I could have easily made Poseidon Adventure #1 because that's how fucking good that movie is and everything. But yeah, it had to be Jaws, because that's automatically, you just say, like, think of a movie that deals with water, and the majority of people are just going to be like, Jaws.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
But all right. That was a pretty good list, guys.
Yeah.
I'm proud of us. I thought we came up with some really good. I'm sure there's more than a handful that people would be like, oh, I never heard of that one. So cool. We hope that it gave you guys some maybe new suggestions, new ideas, things that, of course, we want to hear your input and debate, but we're not totally done yet, because I know I would like to, and I'm sure you guys have some too. I'd like to mention a few that really came close to being on my list. If this would have been a top 8 or a top 10, they would have been in there, but couldn't do it. So honorary mentions. Vito, do you have any?
Yeah, one movie called Deep Rising from 1998.
Yeah, I know that movie.
So it stars Treat Williams.
Yep. Yeah.
He's basically like this, like, not mercenary, but he gets a bunch of mercenaries on his boat because they hire him to go hijack something. And there's a cruise ship liner that's out to voyage, but the owner of the cruise ship sabotages his own boat to get the insurance money because he realizes he spent all this money to build a ship and he's never going to make a profit for it. So the only way he can make money is by sabotaging it, sinking it, getting the insurance money.
Okay.
But when they get to the ship, you find out that everybody is dead because they've been eaten by these tentacle monsters that are all CG for the most part.
Yeah.
And the CG is pretty bad. But it's incredibly fun and funny movie. Like, it's just a nonstop action film set on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean.
What was it called again?
Deep Rising.
Deep Rising.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you find out what the tentacle monsters are at the end. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a lot of fun. Great gore effects.
You find out that it's actually the Squidbillies.
I miss the Squidbillies, dude. This show's great, man.
That show, man. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I remember that movie. Boy.
It's a bad rap, but
yeah, well,
it's good, man. It's a good flick.
Any other honorable mentions, or is that it?
I might have to go with the Kurt Russell Poseidon film.
Okay.
Just because I saw that a couple years ago and really enjoyed it.
No, it's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had never seen this one, I would, that would be a contender and everything. prefer the original because that was the one I first saw and everything. We could always do a part 2 to this, and then like do Water 2, and then that time we go, okay, we're gonna get into more of those other
Water
movies.
2 and Water 3.
Yeah, it's all the Jaws sequels.
Jaws 3D.
Yep.
I saw that at the theater.
Did you?
Yeah, with
Oh,
the bad
man.
3D.
Oh,
It was
dude.
so
Oh,
bad. So bad. I remember I went with my friend Danny, my childhood friend Danny. We went and saw it because it's not one that I would have been like, let's go see it. But Danny was like, I really want to see Jaws 3D. So I think his mom or his older brother or somebody took us to see it. And I remember us just being like, oh, this is terrible. Like even then,
Yeah.
like when we were 10 years old or whatever, we were just like, this is so bad.
Dude, when did that yellow submarine's coming to,
Yeah.
and it just and it cracked. What the fuck was that effect, dude?
With the glass and
Yeah.
everything, it was just like, oh, it's so horrible. It's always bad when they try to do any kind of effect thing or something that they're not ready for.
Right.
Much of the 90s, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't even know when. I forgot when Jaws 3 came out. It had been like 80 or something. Right?
No, 82.
Oh, okay.
Maybe something like that. It was around 82. Yeah, because Jaws 2 came out. It was 78. I think.
I like Jaws 2 a lot.
Yes, I love that one. Yeah, I thought that one. There was some things about Jaws 2 I actually liked even better than the first Jaws movie. But yeah, we could talk about all the Jaws stuff. We ever do? Well, I'm sure we will if we get into shark movie, or that, something like that. There's a lot of bad, of course, we could cover. But there's also some really good ones, when you get into things about megalodons and stuff like that, the megalodon. Yeah. But Megan, I'm sure you have some honorable mentions.
I have a handful.
Okay.
Yep. Probably a lot nobody's ever heard of. So I'm going to start with, I think it was a 2018 Netflix movie called Solo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually all in Spanish.
I heard of it.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it.
And it was it was so good, I wasn't even worried it wasn't in English where I had to read the subtitles because it's about a guy, he's a surfer, and he's walking to get down to this really obscure beach and everything so he can go surfing. And he ends up falling off this cliff.
Oh, no.
And of course, seriously,
G.I. Joe. Sounds like a. Oh, sorry, folks. Anyway, go ahead. Say fell off a cliff. Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, for a while, you're watching him desperately hold on to this cliff.
Okay.
And so obviously, eventually he falls off and seriously injures himself. And it's just about him trying to survive this beach that nobody's ever at. Being severely injured. He's hallucinating people that he knew, kind of reliving his life and what he did wrong, and coming to grips with other people's life choices because of his choices. It was really interesting. I thought it was very good. And I didn't care that it was in Spanish.
Sounds good. Solo. You said?
Solo.
Huh?
Yep. Second one it's called Open Water.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw that in the
From
theater.
2003. Yeah. I remember seeing it before. I was like, oh yeah, that movie. And I found it. And yeah, so that was still really good. It's about a couple that goes on scuba diving.
Yeah. I've seen this. I
for
saw
how,
it once.
they're really hardworking people. And so, yeah. And they got to survive shark attacks because they're left behind.
Based
from
on
their
a true
group.
story.
Based on a true story. So is Solo, based on a true story.
Cool.
Both of them are true stories. And then my third one, I can't remember what year it was, but it's called 12 Feet Deep. And it's about these two girls. They get trapped in a pool over a holiday weekend. And there's this crazy janitor lady that just got fired, and she ends up tormenting them. She turns off the heater in the pool, and she fills it with the chemicals and everything, so they're choking on it. And
what the fuck?
And they can't just get out of the pool?
No, because it has a hard top over it.
Oh.
So it's closed for the weekend.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I think I know
And
what
the
you're
one girl,
talking
she's diabetic or something because she needs her shot, and the lady won't give them the shot, so she's on the verge of going into a coma. Yeah, it was pretty fucked up.
That sounds pretty fucked up.
but it was interesting as well. So
Okay.
a little different one because it's a pool, but the whole movie's in the pool.
Damn.
So what was that called? 12-foot ninja? Was that?
It's 12 foot deep.
It's wrong thing. Not talking about a gent band, right? Or whatever the case.
Yeah.
You know, but
The Let's Change 13 Tunings in One Song thing, right?
yeah. Save that for the other show. Okay, cool. Well, I've got a few. I'll blaze through them real fast. One of them was 1984's Hunt for Red October.
Oh, yes.
Dude.
Excellent movie.
So
That's
good.
excellent movie. Again, that easily could have been in this list, but I felt like even though it takes place in the water and stuff, I didn't feel like the water was really the threat so much. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Even though it takes place on the sub and all, it felt like when it really came down to it compared to the other 5 that I brought up, I felt like the water wasn't as much of a mitigating factor in it as I did these other 5, and that's why I held off, because I was really debating on whether I was going to put Titanic or Hunt for Red October in my list, and I went with Titanic, much to Meg's chagrin.
Should have done the other.
Well, but I also have a feeling we're going to be talking about, like I said, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about something, because we could talk about Hunt for October, we could talk about Patriot games, we could talk about, there's so many.
571.
Yeah,
Dude, that
there's
movie's
That's a
so
great one,
incredible.
too.
Oh, yeah.
so many, and it was another one that I would mention that's speaking of foreign languagey type films and stuff, is Das Boot. That's an incredible movie, really, really good movie about the submarine back in the 40s and stuff. So I kind of, I went off of that. Same thing with 1980s, The Final Countdown.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
We've talked about that way, way back. I think when we were talking about time travel,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. That's one that you could put on every day, and I'd be like, okay, I'll sit down and watch this again. Like I've seen it dozens of times over. I haven't seen it in a while, but another one that's just a fucking phenomenal movie about an aircraft carrier from modern times, being the late 70s, that goes through a weird storm that turns out to be a time portal and finds itself back in 1941.
Interesting.
Like
Just days before Pearl Harbor.
And they've got like F-14 Tomcats in this battleship. They're like, what do we do?
It's fucking amazing. So there's this big ethical problem on the ship of, do we stop? Because we can fucking stop them. We could literally change
Destroy
the
Japan
entire.
with
We could
what
go
we've
and destroy
got,
Japan and probably Germany with what we've got and everything. And then it's like, but you can't change history like that. And it's really cool.
What was that one?
The Final Countdown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kirk Douglas, Martin Sheen. Oh, so good.
Sounds amazing.
Super.
great.
Even though it's only an honorary mention, I highly recommend this movie for people. It's one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. Even the effects are cool and stuff.
Yeah,
When they
it's-
go through that storm and the way it's so good. I didn't include it because I've talked about it before on the show. It's one of those things where it could make it into so many lists that I'm like, kind of like Vito with T2. It's like it makes it into every other list. And so I
It had
just
more water in it. It would
Yeah,
have been
it
this
would,
one.
yeah.
and again, much like the others, like Patriot Games and Red October and stuff, I was like, well, okay, it has that storm, but it's really more of a time portal than a storm. And it's, the water is just kind of a setting. It's not that consequential to the story.
Gotcha.
So I said, okay, I'll hold off on that. And then the last thing, again, because the water obviously factors into a lot of this movie, but I don't feel like it's as crucial, is Tom Hanks' Castaway.
Yeah.
I've not seen that movie before.
Oh my
I heard it's incredible.
God, what a great
I
movie.
think I made it through half of it.
Really?
Oh my God, what is
I fell
wrong with
asleep.
you?
Oh, did you?
Well, okay,
I need to finish it. It was good up until I fell asleep.
the pacing of the movie and everything, and at times in the middle I could understand why, especially if you're tired, I could see how you might kind of drift, but that doesn't mean it's not a boring movie. Yeah, great movie. I mean, most people out there know what it's about that him through a sequence of events that he winds up in an airplane crash on an island, only survivor, on an uncharted. Well, it's a known island, but it's in the middle of the Pacific,
and they don't know that.
And
he's
they think
there.
he's dead.
Oh, okay.
His fiance, or whatever she is, or what I think it was his wife or fiance. I forget if they were married or
I don't
not.
think they were married.
No, I think they were like engaged or something like that. She believes he's alive. Like she has, and they go back now and then and kind of show like her over the years, like struggling with carrying on and things coming up about, and she, for years, even she was still carrying on the crusade of, we could do this, we should find that. And of course, everybody's like, this is ridiculous. He's dead. He's gone. Well, he's not dead. And of course, it's Tom Hanks. So
it's going to be good.
He's incredible in this movie because he carries most of it on his own. Other than the times when they do occasionally cut over to the civilized world and everything back at home and stuff, and those are brief. 3/4 of this movie is just him on his own on an island, talking to himself and talking to talking to Wilson, the soccer ball. Yeah, because what happens is he was working for FedEx, I think was what, or UPS, UPS or FedEx, one of those, and he was like a higher up kind of guy, and he had to go. They were making a flight over to like Moscow or something like that, some important trip he had to make for business purposes, and the ship crashes, the plane crashes, and so thankfully, because it was a ship that was carrying packages, he does wind up being able to salvage a handful of the packages. Okay. And at first, he doesn't even want to open the packages because he's like, I got to get these to people and stuff.
Deliver them still.
And then, but obviously after a while, it's like, okay, well, I got to do.
Yeah.
So he opens up one box and there's a pair of ice skates. And he's like, what the fuck am I going to do with ice skates? But they have blades. So it becomes all about what would you do if all you were how would you MacGyver
some random shit. UPS boxes in a plane.
Yeah, it is just a bunch of random shit.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool how it comes out. So that's why he had the soccer ball, was because it was a gift grandma was sending to their kid and everything.
No, he's never going to get that soccer ball.
No, well, they get. I can't give it away.
Okay.
They get the things at the end.
Okay.
There's redemption, but it still has a bit of a bittersweet ending and stuff. It's not like a super happy ending. It's not, but anyway, great movie, but. The water is kind of his enemy, is his hurdle to get over, because he wants to eventually get back to some sort of civilization. So he wants to figure out, is there a way I can build a ship or a raft or something like that? That becomes a thing. But again, I was just like, comparatively, compared to Titanic, compared to The Abyss, Jaws, I couldn't justify it being in the list. So anyway, that's it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And definitely, like I said, we're already thinking we could do more. And I'm sure we're going to, I'd love to just do one just about submarines and battleships and
absolutely.
Aircraft carriers, any movies that deal with things like that, fucking even Top Gun. I mean, they're on aircraft carriers. Fuck.
That's true.
So many things. So anyway, with that, we are out of here. Thank you so much for checking it out, for watching or listening, whichever route you went with this podcast. We will be back soon with more. Of course, as always, please subscribe, hit that little bell down there so you get notified. It only takes a moment and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. If you do feel like supporting us and you like what we do, we are very, very fortunate to have a handful of people that support us through Patreon. We love our patrons. Hi, everybody. And, there's links below for where you can find out about that. And we're going to have some exclusive content up there soon.
Yes, we are. We promise it's coming.
We've been working on it, so it is coming. Just make sure you look for us, support us, share. We're on if you're watching us on YouTube, you can also download us on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Apple, all that kind of stuff. We're on all those things if you just want to listen to us. And if you're listening to us and you want to see us, and look at our YouTube channel, because we've got these on there, but we've also got really goofy, funny videos of us We do all sorts of really goofy stuff, and we're pretty goofy looking at it, so it makes it when you see us. So if you're not looking at us right now, you'll see what I mean when you see us, because we're quite the characters. But yeah, I guess that's about it. We'll be back soon. Thanks to everybody at the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, all our Jason and the gang over there.
Yep.
So,
Love your support.
love your support,
Mm-hmm.
and we will talk to you real soon.
Stay out of the water.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Stay away from the water. Yeah, stay in the shallow end. Although apparently
that
that
doesn't
doesn't
work
work
either, yeah.
either sometimes.
They
Stay
blew
out
that
of
one out of the water.
Oh wow. On that note, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Really hit that iceberg.
Don't touch the Nemo!
He touched the butt.
Jack, I wanted you to draw me like one of your French girls.
Say, ah, motherfucker!